This
Good
is,
afternoon,
yeah, hi. Hi, Mike Zelkind. Yes.
Joe.
This is Vertical Farming Conversations. I'm joined today by Mike Zelkind, who is the co-founder and CEO at 80 Acres Farms. Um, Mike, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
So, Mike, first of all, of course, I have to congratulate you and your team on this landmark merger between 80 Acres Farms and Solely Organic. But tell us, please, why do you think that makes sense? Why do you think that's complementary and perhaps even synergistic?
Yeah, I'd love to. Look, vertical farming industry has been through a lot of ups and downs, and hopefully it's starting to come back up. Solely Organic is in a very complementary business to 80 acres, culinary herbs, leafy greens, tomatoes, um, um, salad blends and salad mixes and a variety of all these categories. They have the same consumer base. They're all fresh, highly perishable items. We think it's critical to not assume that any one company can figure everything out. The Soli team has done an incredible job building farms and learning, as well as many other folks in the industry have. And we think bringing together the best technology, best cultivation methodologies, best people, and frankly, having the distribution breadth, we're reaching
Right.
17,000 doors now together. We're a national company. And also, from profitability perspective, it's important to have the size to be
Right.
able to absorb reasonable SG&As. And it's the way to drive profitability in these companies. It's very difficult to be profitable in a meaningful way when you're a hobby farm. You can do it, you can pay your salary, but our ambitions were always to
Right.
attempt to do something meaningful change the way the world eats. So
Yes.
this
Yes.
skill, this ability, this knowledge from combined teams, and this best stuff mentality should give us a very good opportunity to continue to drive this industry
Right.
forward.
Right. So Mike, what's unique about the vertical farming industry is that, of course, it is an industry, and because it's a rising and emerging industry, I think this is from you as well, is that it's very critical to have a systems thinking approach in building this industry, and of course that applies as well in building individual enterprises within the industry. So, can you elaborate on that, please? The systems thinking,
Yeah,
why that's
absolutely.
crucial and what that means.
Absolutely. Absolutely. System thinking is critical when you're trying to create an industry and solve a problem in a very different way using technology. You can never forget what you're trying to accomplish here. We all get so caught up on specific lights, and now folks have finally realized it's not just lights, it's dehumidification, cultivation methods, technology, energy costs, labor costs.
Yeah.
Everybody's so worried about every sub element, and people love to throw out one little sub-component and say, oh, this will never work. The sun is free. We can talk about that too, by the way. The sun is free,
Yes.
but as Wolf Johnson always says, it's not worth the cost. The
Hmm.
point is, that's not the question of can you grow a lot more efficient and all that. The answer is yes, you obviously can. The question really becomes, do you have a business model that works? And
Okay.
in my mind, to build a business model that works, you need two things. First of all, you have to have a crop centric, capital efficient system. Full stop. If you don't, it'll never work. You have to be able to grow consistently, very high quality items um, in and create superior products. And we
Right.
can talk about how to and what that really means, but that's one part of the equation. Once you have that, that's wonderful. But the second piece is what does the customer, or more importantly, the consumer really want?
Mm.
I've talked to a lot of consumers, and I still do. I'm constantly out there watching who's buying what and shopping around and looking at the products. I love this industry. I'm very passionate about this industry. I think everybody in this industry, regardless of results, is trying to do the right thing and trying to feed the world. And
Yeah.
and it's a phenomenal industry. And I'm incredibly passionate about it. But I've never had the consumer tell me if I could only get lettuce for 10 cents less, I would eat a lot more salad. That's not what the consumer wants. That's what the buyer is pushing for, but the buyer will always push for less. You ask the question on, what do you want? And the answer is it's the opposite of the Wall Street movie, right? It's less. They're trained to do that. The question is, what does a consumer want? And the
Mhm.
consumer wants freshness. The consumer wants consistency. The consumer wants superior product. The consumer wants leafies and produce in general that they want to eat, that they want to put in their mouth. You got to increase usage frequency. You got to drive people to do things. People have choices. You have to enable them,
Mm.
make the choice, makes them feel better. They should want to eat these salads. That's the challenge of the industry. What vertical farming, in a sense, enables us to do with
Mm.
this precision control is what the greenhouses started doing, by the way, and are still doing a very nice job. And what the traditional farming has been doing for millennia,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Is they've been delivering food to people, but with every technological innovation, you should be able to do it better. You should be able to differentiate the product, and you should be able to drive a better quality product. Take a look at the leafy industry. I mean, it started with a salad wall, right? The bulk wall, and then it moved on to bagged salads, which was convenient. It was innovative. By the way, it was a lot more expensive. You take a look at the price of that bagged salad at 7 ounces for $2.99 or whatever it came out with. It's a lot more than buying bunches or units or pieces for 69 cents before that. And the consumers loved it because there was value created. They
All
paid more
right.
for it. And then
That's
what
right.
happened after that? The organic industry came up with clamshells. And again, it was clean. Triple wash, we can talk about it. I think triple wash is a joke, but whatever. The point is, there was more convenience. It was, again, a smaller
Yeah.
package. You went from 7 ounces to 5 ounces. The price went up from $2.99 to $3.99. But again, the consumers loved it because there was a benefit, organic, better for the world, better for you. That was great. Then vertical farming comes in, very capital intensive industry,
Right.
and should be delivering the next generation of products, the next level of quality. The precision control allows you to do so many things if you do it right, right? It allows you to do so many things to differentiate your products, to mix a variety of new things. You got to be creative, you got to be innovative.
Right.
And again, there should be, we have to deliver to the consumer the highest, the best value for the highest quality.
That's right.
If the quality goes up, and it doesn't always go up, just because you use new technology doesn't always go up. There's a lot of work to do with that crop centric system design that I started with. But if the value goes up, the consumer will pay for the privilege. Everybody keeps talking about price, 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 but it's just silliness. We need to refocus on what does a customer want? What is the capability that we're spending a lot of money developing and building? And by the way, one more thing.
Yeah.
It's a completely new industry. It's been around for 10 years, maybe a little longer, but really 10 years. Anybody who expected in 10 years to go from 0 to 100, it's just not how things happen, with very, very few exceptions in life. And the industry's learning, the industry's developing, but the
Mhm.
benefits of vertical farming versus every other way
Mhm.
are very clear. If you do it right,
Yeah.
the quality, the food safety, the freshness, the nutritional value, the ability to differentiate, there's so many things that can drive benefit. We as an industry have to figure out how to deliver that consistently,
Yeah.
be able to start making claims, and then
Mhm.
offer that to the consumer and communicate effectively to the consumer.
Right.
If you do that, you are creating that next fourth post clamshell, post organic
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
generation of produce. And if we don't, shame on us because the consumers want it. They're speaking very clearly. It is
Right.
up to us as an industry to deliver to the consumer what the consumer has been screaming about and
Yeah.
wanting forever.
So, yeah, I think that's very important. The message I'm getting from you is that in your conversations and the communications with the customers, they want all of these benefits and value, and they're willing to pay commensurate to the value that they are receiving, right?
Consumers, right? Consumers are voting with their pocketbook all the time.
That's right.
Customers will balance that out. A good retailer will always try to
Yeah.
get the best price and the best value, but their conversation has to take place. You have to be a partner,
Yeah.
not just a vendor. If you're
Right.
investing all these dollars into this new capability and you're just a vendor and you have to sell it for less or match an inferior quality product, you'll never be in business long. And the
Okay.
industry has struggled.
All right. So I think you have articulated there really well what the industry should focus on in terms of what it needs to deliver to the customers in terms of all of these benefits of produce that is being produced by vertical farming. But of course, for the point of view of the enterprise, that has to be achieved, that has to be delivered, that produce high quality produce at an still at an economical manner. And this is
Absolutely.
where I guess we have to talk about the scale of the production enterprise. So could you comment on that, please? Because a lot of people, I think, are still not clear about this. There seems to be a sliding scale between scalability and profitability, and people have no idea, particularly in the vertical farming industry, where that point is, where there should be an appropriate balance between scalability to achieve profitability. So help us decipher this.
Well, there are two thoughts that I have. I mean, first, there are basic economies of scale
All
that
right.
obviously clearly kick in. But second point always goes back to what does a customer and consumer want? And I'll start with the customer and consumer because to me, it has to be still value driven.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you will never be in business.
Right.
A consumer, I already mentioned, the consumer wants fresh, consistent quality, a real brand, not a label. Brand means that your product stands for something, it delivers something all the time. I
Oh,
would argue that with the exception of Organic Girl, possibly Gotham Greens, us,
right.
and very few others, there are no brands in produce. Will a consumer change a behavior to go across the street if the retailer doesn't carry your product? I would say for a few brands, a consumer will. For others, they won't. To me, that's the definition of a brand versus a label. A brand has to stand for something. So a consumer wants certain things that folks are starting to more and more deliver on and understand. Customers want surety of supply.
Mhm.
Customers want consistency. Customers want a national footprint. A
Okay.
customer, everybody wants to buy local and they love it, but generally they want to make one call and buy as much as possible from a source and hold that source accountable. They don't want to make 1,000 calls. All the customers, all the retailers are operating penny margin businesses, and they're trying to drive efficiencies. And calling every local Joe, which is great conceptually, is just not practical for a lot of the. I'm not even talking national chains, I'm talking about the super regionals.
Right.
So the question is, how do you provide that surety of supply and consistency? You have to have a redundant network. These are
Mhm.
still, people get confused with technology, technology, technology.
Yeah.
We are a technology enabled business. People don't eat technology. People eat produce. People hopefully choose superior products. We have to think about how to drive technology to deliver that lower cost.
Yeah.
And again, there's natural economies of scale that kick in. Yeah, having a very small farm that is completely manual, you can operate and you can do certain things with it, but having large farms and a network of farms that if God forbid something happens in one, you can serve it out of the other. That's how all decent sized enterprises operate. That's the promise you make to your customer. And that's why they're sometimes willing to, in some cases pay a little more, in other cases take a slightly
Mhm.
smaller margin, in other cases just work with you through some challenges that you're having and growing pains because you're giving them value they can't get elsewhere. So having a national network that offer
Mm.
redundancy and consistency is important to customers. You can't, there's, it's just a fact, whether
All
people
right.
like it or not. So, and operating at national scale, if you build consistent, standardized,
Yeah.
modularized,
Right.
industrialized farms, you can have one spare parts room. You can move your farm managers around. You have consistent maintenance. You have systems. Systems are very important.
Mhm.
We have Pro Loop technology that our Infinite Acres sister company has done an incredible job developing. That's super important. Honestly, we're investing a lot in R&D. It's not lip service. There's a lot of advanced breeding techniques that for a
Right.
lot of
Mhm.
breeders right now on their own, vertical farming industry is just way too small, frankly. They can't get a return on their investment. Well, if we wait, it's a chicken or the egg, right? If you're waiting
Yeah.
for the vertical farming industry to get big enough, well, you need a couple of unlocks, but you can't drive or force those unlocks until you get big enough. So we made a decision. We bought
Okay.
this amazing company, Plante Bio in Israel, and they're doing incredible things, advanced breeding. It's in next year or so, you're going to start seeing some really fun things come out that we will frankly share with the industry because we want to uplift the whole industry. We'll make it available to others.
All right.
Um, Obviously, be beneficiaries of it ourselves as well. It'll be up to people to see what they want to do with it. But the point is, it's all again about product differentiation, driving higher yields, driving more consistency.
Okay.
And you can't fund those operations and you can't fund anything truly innovative if you're just running a rack with some lights with a couple of fans
Right, right, right.
because you can't afford to do it. So scale is important to become a meaningful player
Yeah,
and to drive the industry forward, but you have to do it wisely, right? A
yeah,
lot of, again, early on in the industry, people raised way too much money, talked about unreasonable R&D, had 10-year-long projects, which are wonderful. And by the way, they were great pioneers, and I'm not knocking those folks,
right, right, right.
right? They were butts off. They were doing amazing things. They pushed the industry forward,
Yes.
and they've done great things for the industry, but it's just not our approach.
Okay.
We're a bit more pragmatic. We want to see shorter term results
Right.
and we want to see those linkages. And we're very collaborative. We work with
Yeah.
tons of partners to get there. So,
Right.
not saying it's the
Yeah.
right way, by the way, it's just our way.
Yes, yes. I think pragmatism is a strategy on its own, especially in this industry. Mike, I understand that currently you have about 7 vertical farms across the nation, correct? Are you
That
planning
is
on,
correct.
are you planning on adding a few more? And what would be your, how do you decide on that? What are your criteria for whether to add more and at what
Yeah.
time?
Thank you. That's a great question. Look, right now we're very focused on integrating these 7 farms. As you know, we bought the 3 Calera farms. Calera did a phenomenal job selecting locations, and they have some really neat things they've done in their farms that we're enjoying a lot. And there's some things we're upgrading and modifying. Soli has wonderful farms. They have some greenhouses, by the way. They have some outdoor land, which is kind of interesting. Most people don't realize. So Soli is a phenomenal company that has grown from a trading company and an outdoor company to
Right.
entered controlled environment and greenhouses, realized they wanted to do more. Ulf Johnson is a phenomenal individual who was driving a lot of it with Tim and a variety of other folks. I mean, they had some great founders and great
Yeah.
teams and very dedicated folks. And they started getting to vertical farming, and now they're blending what they're doing. So we have our work cut out for us in the near term to integrate all the businesses. We have a phenomenal software tool that we design ourselves. We started with a bunch of tools out there, MRP tools, ERP tools. Obviously, none of them are built for farming. So for years, 10 years, we've been building our own software tools that we've been using in our own farms. Now we've learned that we can use it and we can put it in other people's farms and you have complete visibility, track and trace. Look, at the end of the day, these are manufacturing facilities.
Right, right, right.
And that doesn't mean it's not natural. By the way, I believe this is the most natural way to farm. The notion of traditional farming being natural is a marketing technique more than anything else. Nothing, you put a seed anywhere out there and it will not grow naturally by itself. It will die 100% of the time. So that notion is a bit of a joke. What we do actually, creating these optimized environments for the genetics, is as natural as it gets. We add as little to it as possible. This is the opposite of frankenfood. This is the most natural way to farm. And kids know that, and others are learning it. So we have this software tool
Yeah.
which now is going into Calera. We'll integrate it with Soli. We'll have complete visibility, track and trace. It'll drive efficiency. You will start seeing from an operational effectiveness perspective. We know every time a leaf hits the ground, right? I mean, you do need to hit unit economics. At the end of the
Right.
day, by the way, when I talk about what the customer wants and differentiation, it does not give you an excuse not to run incredibly tight operations. You have to hit unit economics. We've been focused on unit
Yeah.
economics for 10 years. We come out of running penny businesses like Del Monte Foods and others, and we understand that in produce, if you don't have your cost structure right, nothing else matters. So yeah, we're going to integrate these farms. We're going to, start them up. We have to fill up the capacity in all of them. And at that point, yeah, we will
Yeah.
obviously start thinking about how to do more for our customers. But we have a lot to do meanwhile
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
assets we have.
Mike, I really like your point about what's natural. And I think we as an industry need to have a conversation on that and perhaps work together to revise what it means. Uh, I know that it's the weekend and I really appreciated your talking with me today. And so I know your time is limited. So I'll ask you two last questions. I don't know if this one is a question, but I just would like for you to make a comment on it. With farm agriculture, outdoors agriculture in the United States, there's a lot of that concentrated in the Midwest. And that's where you have these super farms, these mega farms, very large farms concentrated in the Midwest. The production takes place there, and then they're transported to, different areas in the country. But with vertical farming and with the national network that you are assembling, it seems different to me, even if it gains in size. Of course, it's not the same size as the super farms yet, but it's different because it's a network of nodes that are geographically distributed across the country. So maybe the total effect is that it's equivalent to a mega farm as a super farm, but it's not really super farm or mega farm in the traditional sense. Could you comment on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Joel. I like the way you said it. We always think of our farms as a distributed network of farms.
Yeah,
We think it's very important from a redundancy perspective, from a food safety perspective, from a variety of others. By the way, when we talk about leafy greens, right, 95% of leafy greens come 9 months out of the year out of Salinas, California, and 3 months out of the year out of Yuma, Arizona, due to climatic environment. We've tried to farm as a humanity a lot of other places. We always come back to Salinas and
yeah,
Yuma for the
yeah.
time, the duration that you got to grow that head of lettuce
That's right.
and the proper conditions. There's nowhere else you can go to get
Yeah,
that. So then we ship that product 2,400 miles. By the way,
yeah, yeah.
those folks have done a fantastic job
Right, right, right.
feeding the world. Let's be super clear. So not knocking anything, but how many times have we been a single recall away from the spinach industry dying? If you recall the last spinach recall, all the water sources are the same. All the farms are being fed from, everything is the same. It's not redundant. Something goes down, everything goes down.
Yeah,
All these guys use the same fields. Having a distributed network of farms enables you to have these nodes and to
right,
do a variety of things. First of all, you can learn a lot faster. You cycle a lot faster. We can talk about the learning loops and the ability to get 20 years experience or 40 years or 100 years experience every
right.
couple of months based on just cycle time and how many different fields you have going and slight variations between them. If you're thoughtful about it, it's incredible. Second, surety of supply. This is still an agricultural product, right? Anybody who thinks technology cures all ills has never really done any farming or any real work in manufacturing. You try to minimize variances and variability, but it is a manufacturing process for biological things, and things happen all the time. And it's a fact. And anybody who
Yeah,
says it's not or it's perfect just has never done it before, or they're liars.
yeah,
Things happen all the time. So the question is, how do you deal with it? And when you have a disturbance, can you cover it from another location
yeah,
that is totally insulated instead of being
yeah,
part of the whole? We think it's absolutely necessary. You're
right.
also eliminating or reducing a lot of the miles.
Yeah,
Um, you don't have one manufacturing facility in the cheapest cost center serve the whole country or the whole world. It
yeah, yeah,
just doesn't work that way. You always want to distribute it. Any supply chain expert or executive will tell you always want a distributed network for
yeah.
redundancy.
Right.
And
It
the
just
produce is no
imparts,
different. It's actually more delicate.
right. It imparts resilience to the system. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's a great word. Thank you. That's a great word.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so last question before I let you go. So as you refer to this as well, it's still a young industry, the vertical farming industry is. And so how should the stakeholders or how should the vertical farm enterprises work together? How should they come together and work together for the benefit of the entire industry? Give us some of your thoughts on that.
I love that question. I love that question. First of all, I think we need standards. I think
Okay.
this notion that everybody figures everything out on their own is just, forgive me, it's a bit childish. There are a lot of great things that are out there, and each of us doesn't have to be the smartest person in the room. We need to find a little humility and collaborate. We actually built a field lab in The Hague
Okay.
that my co-founder Tisha Livingston runs, and Infinite Acres invites everybody to participate. We have not only Siemens, who's a partner, and Philips Lighting and TTA and a variety of others, but we have equipment manufacturers that are working this together, as well as we have other vertical farmers and even some greenhouses that come and look, and we'll bring anybody in. And there's certain things that we will not compete in. We never will compete on quality. We will put out our food safety and food quality manifestos, if you will, to anybody who asks. And I've offered it to folks and they've asked and we've sent it out. Um,
Okay.
we believe that, by the way, many people do not really understand food safety and food quality because they don't come from the food industry. And the way even today some of the bigger firms do it is it might make them feel better about the processes, but it is not a scientifically valid way to do it. And I realize that even some customers have been talked into and they're trying to get folks to do it, but there's a lot of silliness in food safety. There's false security that is being provided, and we need to nip that in the bud and be realistic and have science drive food safety. There's a lot of things we won't compete in, and we're very collaborative, and we'll
Okay.
collaborate. We need the whole industry to do this. This is too
Right.
big for any one company. This is too, we can grow this industry. This is not an industry that it's not a zero sum game here.
Mhm.
The higher product quality that we can produce, the more differentiators we can feed off each other, we
Yeah.
can all innovate, we can grow this industry because this is actually good for the world. It's good for the community. It's good for the people eating it. I don't feel I'm competing against
Mm.
other farmers
Right.
almost ever. I
Yes.
think
Yes.
we have to change that notion. I'm competing for more shelf space for healthier quality foods, and then I'm competing with ourselves. And I think the whole industry should be competing. How do we increase churns? How do we increase consumption? How do we get people to eat better and healthier? How do we
Right.
get people to buy more of this instead of other stuff which is not as good for them? Competition against another farmer is
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
both need to win.
Yeah, I think that's the greatest testimony actually of the vertical farming industry is if all of the vertical farm enterprises grow together and
Mhm.
collaboratively. But very last question, Mike. So in terms of developing standards, do you think do you think that the United States should have its own American standards? Europe should have its own European standards, Asia, and so on and so forth. What's your thought on that?
I don't think so.
It can be a global standard.
Look, I'm not going to enforce my standards on anybody, but we're going to design standards that work for us in Europe, that work for us in the Middle East, that work for us in America. And if other people think they can do better and there's value in it, it's not a pride thing. We just have a chance to
Yeah.
not have a General Motors and a Ford and a Chrysler all kind of trying to do their own thing. We have a chance to come together and define basic communication protocols so all pieces of equipment talk the same way. There's a lot of we all need visibility. It'll help us all take costs out
Yes.
of the system. I don't
Yes.
care who designs it. And it's not like our guys are the smartest guys that have to do it. These are just basic things that we're working with machine manufacturers and others to give outputs to us, the users, so that we can run efficient manufacturing processes with. It's rather simple, but instead of, new industries, everybody has to do things their own way. The world used to be really closed off. It's not now. So we're trying to take advantage of it. We just want open, simple, straightforward communication protocols and ability for companies to do with it what they will and kind of create this level playing field and then let everybody go out and compete and see who takes what part. And that's healthy. Competition is healthy. It drives innovation. Without competition, you get fat, dumb, and happy really fast. And we need competition. So yeah, we're big believers in standards. We think one of the biggest problems is everybody in the past has thought that they're the only ones who understood how to do it, and their way was the only way.
Yeah.
And I have some news. It kind of there's a lot of things have been done before. A lot of things have been done more than well enough.
Yes.
And our approach has been collaborate with best of breed folks, put
Right.
it together, innovate in the gaps where things don't work, and try to drive it forward faster with less dollars and more efficiency and utilize the knowledge that is already there. You don't have
Right.
to recreate it. That's where I think our industry, when we started out, there was so much pride and so much VC money, and everybody wanted their own IP that, everybody was spending the same dollars, incremental dollars, trying to figure out the same things. And
Right.
if we would have pooled the dollars invested originally together, my God, we could have had a phenomenal industry. But the point is not to look back. The point is to look forward.
Yes. Yes.
And
Right.
and we can, as an industry, still accomplish a hell of a lot if we
That's right.
check our ego at the door and try
Yes.
to build an industry.
Right. You're right. So your message is clear. Come together and we'll be better as an industry. Mike Zelkind, thank
Absolutely.
you so much for your valuable insights today, and thank you for your time. It's a weekend, so
No
thank
problem,
you
Joel.
so
Thanks for
very
the
much
call.
indeed, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Great speaking with you.
All right, bye for now.
Okay.